Most people planning a move to Colorado think that they are moving to Denver. But if you're actually looking outside of Denver, things tend to feel different than people expect. Northern Colorado has a slower pace and a different day-to-day. When you've lived here a long time, that just feels normal. But if you're coming from out of state, there are a few things that typically don't click here until after you move here. Hey, what's going on? I'm McKinnon with Move Me to Colorado at Real. I'm a local real estate agent right here in Northern Colorado, and my team and I specialize in helping people from all over the country relocate right here to Northern Colorado. Now, when I talk with people who are planning a move to Northern Colorado, a lot of the questions sound the same. They've done the online research, but they're still trying to picture what daily life here actually feels like. So in this video, instead of focusing on just prices or one specific town or city in Northern Colorado, I'm going to walk you through a few things that tend to surprise people after they move here. Now, as you are watching this video, think about what matters most to you, because long-term happiness here really does come down to your lifestyle fit. Let's start with something that comes up a lot. A lot of people assume Northern Colorado is basically Denver, just quieter and a little bit cheaper. And that right there is usually where expectations start to get off. Places like Fort Collins, Windsor, and Greeley don't really feel like big city Denver metro neighborhoods. They feel more like actual vibrant small towns. That's a good thing if what you are looking for is more space, more routine, and quieter nights. But if you're expecting the same level of energy, nightlife, or things happening late into the evening, this can feel different than what you pictured. That right there is usually the change. Now, I hear people say all the time, we really like it here. It just took a little bit of time to adapt to what daily life looks like. So it's not about what's better or worse. It's just about knowing what kind of pace actually fits you. And that difference in pace connects directly to the next thing that tends to surprise people, the weather. Most people moving to Colorado expect snow. And yes, we do get snow, but that's usually not what people talk about after they have lived here for a while. What truly catches people off guard is the wind, the dryness, and how quickly the weather can change. Now, it's not unusual to wake up to snow, have sunshine by midday, but you are still dealing with wind later on. Snow usually melts pretty fast here, but the wind and the dry air are definitely more constant, and that's what takes some getting used to. Now, if you're coming from a more humid area, that change is going to be very noticeable for you. Things like dry skin, dry sinuses, and even how much water you drink can change. It's not a deal breaker for most people. It's just part of everyday life here. And once you know that, it's easier to plan around it. Now, quick check-in. Do you lean more towards of a humid climate, or do you prefer more of a dry climate where you get to experience all 4 seasons? Let me know in the comments directly below this video. Another change for a lot of people is how spread out everyday life feels here. Northern Colorado isn't very dense. Neighborhoods, schools, shopping, and work are typically going to be separated. So even though traffic is generally much lighter than in bigger cities like Denver, driving is just part of everyday life here. A lot of people assume everything will be close because the towns aren't massive in size, but things like running errands can take some planning. You might not be sitting in traffic very often or for a long time, but you are covering more ground and more mileage. For some people, that trade-off feels worth it. They like having more space with a lot less congestion. For others, it takes a little time to get used to driving more for everyday things. It's not really a problem. It's just part of how life is here. And that layout, convenient or not, plays a big role in how people think about housing. Now, if this breakdown is helpful, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I cover what it's really like living in Northern Colorado, what you need to know in depth every single week. So make sure you're subscribed. This is another area where expectations matter. A lot of people moving here from out of state look at Northern Colorado and they feel like it's more affordable than what they're coming from. And sometimes, a lot of time, that is true. But what surprises people is how quickly the full monthly costs add up. The purchase price of the house is only part of the picture. Things like property taxes, insurance, utilities, and a lot of times HOA fees all factor in. Newer homes in particular can come with higher monthly expenses than people expect. So even if the price looks reasonable, your payment can still be an adjustment. This isn't a cheap area, it's more of a value-based area. You're paying for space, quieter neighborhoods, and a certain kind of lifestyle. For many of our clients, that trade-off makes sense. For others, it means readjusting what they thought their budget would look like. That's why it's important to look at the full picture, not just the listing price. This is another thing people don't always realize right away in Northern Colorado. The outdoor lifestyle isn't really a bonus, it's just part of everyday life. A lot of events and social plans revolve around being outside. Weekends often mean walking, hiking, biking, lakes, or just spending time outdoors. You don't have to be extreme about it, but being at least somewhat outdoors friendly does make it easier for you to settle in. For people who move here specifically for that outdoors lifestyle, it usually feels like a great fit. For others, it can feel like something they expected to enjoy more than they actually do. That's not wrong, it just means the lifestyle here might be different than what you're used to. So when you put all of this together, Northern Colorado isn't really about one single thing. It's about how all of these pieces fit together. It's a slower pace than Denver. The weather's different than people expect, especially the wind and the dryness. Daily life is more spread out, which means more driving but less congestion. Housing isn't necessarily cheap, but for a lot of people, the value makes sense once they understand the full picture. And the outdoor lifestyle isn't just something people do on weekends, it's part of how people live here. None of that is good or bad on its own. It just depends on what kind of lifestyle you're actually looking for. This is the kind of stuff you don't really find out from looking at a house for sale or your online searches. It's usually what people learn after they have already moved here. And that's why understanding these things ahead of time makes such a difference. So, if you are considering a move to Northern Colorado, the goal really isn't to convince yourself it's going to be perfect. It's to make sure it actually fits you. Now, which city in Northern Colorado do you think fits your lifestyle best? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more information on what it's really like to live here, make sure you're subscribed. And if you're considering relocating to Colorado, my team and I would love to help you. You can reach us through the link in the pinned comment directly below this video. And be sure to watch this channel for more guidance on relocating to Colorado.